going to debrief on the activity that you just did about internal feedback loops. So internal feedback loops are simply a way to maintain homeostasis, which is like a balance in your body. And the feedback loops are like the way that homeostasis is maintained is by the release of hormones. Release of hormones by the endocrine system. So you may or may not have learned about the endocrine system yet, but the endocrine system is literally just a body system that releases hormones in order to maintain homeostasis. So we're going to go through a multiple choice question and figure out, like, is this a positive feedback loop or a negative feedback loop happening? Okay, so after a meal, blood glucose levels become elevated, stimulating beta cells of the pancreas to release insulin into the blood. Excess glucose is then converted to glycogen in the liver, reducing blood sugar levels. This is an example of. Okay, so my question really is, this is an example of this being this scenario. So this is talking about glucose levels. Glucose levels is like sugar levels. So glucose is, I could highlight that and write sugar. This is a big deal, especially if you're diabetic. Now, if you're diabetic, regulating your glucose, it can sometimes be a positive feedback and sometimes be a negative feedback. So positive feedback, the main difference is that positive like increases or stimulate something, and negative feedback reduces something. Reduces or inhibits the production of some sort of hormone. So this question is a little tricky because it's saying both. Okay, so it's saying that glucose levels are elevated or stimulating, but the feedback loop that's happening is that the glucose is converted to glycogen, which reduces blood level. So the thing that's helping me like maintain the same glucose level, like maintain a balance, is the fact that I'm reducing blood glucose levels, and reducing is negative feedback. So I'm going to look through my answer choices. I know it's not positive. The stimulating was just like setting up the question of like, this is how things get out of whack, but my negative feedback loop of how I'm maintaining the balance is reducing. Alright, negative feedback because glucose levels are being elevated. No, they are not. Negative feedback because the glucose levels are being reduced. Yes. So my answer is D. Alright, number 2. You are able to wake up because melatonin levels are decreased. This is an example of. Okay, so I know back on melatonin, when you increase melatonin, that's what helps you sleep. A lot of the times when you can't fall asleep, it's because your melatonin levels are out of whack. You might have read in the magazine that like staring at a screen actually whacks out your melatonin levels. So like if you're staring at your phone right before you go to bed, that means that not enough melatonin is reduced and like you can't go to sleep because your body is triggered to like be awake because of the light. So, you know, don't look at your phone for a couple hours before you go to bed. That's your message from your biology teacher. The way that you're able to wake up is that melatonin levels are decreased. So decreased is reduced. Okay, reduced I know talks about negative feedback because I'm reducing something to get back to a balance to wake you up. So I know this is also negative, it's not positive. Negative feedback because the melatonin are heightened. Heightened means increase. That's not what's happening. Negative feedback because the melatonin levels are being reduced. That would be correct. So again, my answer is D. This is a little trickier to figure out, but you can do it. I believe in all of you, and make sure that you get to the card sort at the end because I think that will really, really help. All right, have fun.